A billionaire reads a single mom's heartbreaking diary on a bus. Will he risk everything to find her? The city was alive with the buzzing of evening traffic when a sleek black bus rolled to a stop. Inside, shattered lives converged, hidden in plain sight. Among them was Keith Dalton, a billionaire whose name echoed through boardrooms, yet tonight he was slumped in his seat, fingers trembling. Just as the engine growled to life, his eyes fell upon a tattered notebook, its edges frayed, resting on the seat next to him. It was as if the universe had whispered for him to take a closer look. What had drawn him in was more than just the glossy cover. It was the scent of desperation mixed with hope. The notebook bore deep, almost intrusive scribbles, the ink a teardrop of sadness. He cracked it open, and the world around him faded into a blur. Words poured out like a flood, tales of a single mother's struggles, each line soaked in a heart-wrenching honesty. Her dreams were like ghosts, flickering in and out of existence, alongside raw pain felt in the pit of his stomach. The truths were almost palpable, touching places he never knew existed in his well-guarded heart. But then there was a name that sent him reeling: Jake. Who was Jake? The beauty and chaos of her life twisted around that name, drawing him deeper with each page. The sentiment became electric, coursing through the bus like a live wire. He glanced around, eyes darting to shadows that shifted nervously, whispers blending into an anxious hum. Did anyone else know the secrets this diary held? The air turned thick, silence suffocated the crowded bus until the driver coughed, breaking the spell. Keith's hands clenched around the notebook, heart racing. What if he tore it from the world and into his own? His mind electrified with questions, flipping pages as if they were seconds ticking away. Every revelation craved urgency, a desperate need that made his chest tight and his pulse quicken. He needed to know more. Who was this woman? What could be done about the despair bleeding through her words? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Keith continued reading furiously, heart pounding as the bus cascaded down the streets, headlights slicing through the dark. The mysteries deepened with every word, swirling questions clawing at him. What had she endured? How could one person bear such weight? As he turned the last page, the diary ended abruptly with a chilling plea, a desperate cry for help. He felt a connection, an indelible bond screaming across time and space. Would he risk everything he had for her? Could he? And in that electric moment, as the bus rolled to its final stop, Keith realized he was no longer just a billionaire in his ivory tower, he was a man on the brink of a decision that could change everything. What would he do next? He stepped off the bus into the bustling chaos of the city, his body still reeling from the words he had just consumed. The night air felt heavy, thick with the tension of unresolved stories that lingered in the shadows. Keith's heart hammered in his chest as he clutched the diary tightly, as if it would disappear if he loosened his grip even for a second. His mind raced. Jake. The name echoed, a siren call amid the cacophony of honking cars and distant laughter. Who was this man who had occupied her thoughts, her dreams? And why did it make his skin prickle with jealousy? A nameless feeling gnawed at him. It wasn't just curiosity, it was a visceral need. He had to find this woman, the one who had etched her soul into those pages. That he made his way down the street, the bright neon lights casting colorful shadows. Each corner held the promise of an answer, a lead to follow. As he walked, he pondered how many single moms fought silent battles every day, hidden behind smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. What if she was just one of many? What if he could be more, a lifeline in a turbulent sea of despair? Lost in thought, he bumped into a pedestrian, a man who shot him a sharp glance before moving on. Keith barely noticed, the world blurred around him, the city in a rush while he stood still. He needed a plan, a strategy to locate her. Each line in the diary felt like threads weaving into a large, intricate tapestry he wanted to unravel. The cafe across the street glowed invitingly. Maybe her words had been penned there. Maybe she sought solace in its warmth, just like he did now. He stepped inside, the aroma of brewing coffee wrapping around him like an old friend. People sat in focused silence, too absorbed in their lives to notice the billionaire standing at the counter, pulse racing. "Can I help you?" the barista asked, her voice piercing through his cocoon of thoughts. "Just a coffee," he managed, his mind still spiraling through the possibilities. He took a moment, glancing around for clues, the art on the walls, the book-laden shelves. Maybe. Just maybe, she had left a note behind, a breadcrumb leading back to her. As he took his steaming cup, something caught his eye. A table in the corner, littered with notes, scraps of paper swirling in a messy jumble. He approached cautiously, heart pounding against his ribcage. One piece stood out, a bold scrawl with a familiar loop in the letters, Jake. He leaned in closer, breath hitching. What secrets did this fragment hold? Who was Jake to her? As he reached down, someone bumped past him, shoulders brushing against his arm. The scrap fluttered just out of reach, slipping under the table. He crouched down to retrieve it, heart racing, only to find a pair of shoes, familiar shoes he'd seen on the bus. "Excuse me." He called out, adrenaline surging. But the figure turned and fled through the cafe door, and just like that, the moment evaporated. Frustration bubbled inside him. Why did this matter so much? Why couldn't he let it go? He couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, she was closer than he thought. He quickly left the cafe, scanning the streets, the busy sidewalks alive with foot traffic. Can I catch her? Or was it too late? Against all odds, he was determined to chase this fleeting chance. But deep down, a thought echoed louder than the rest. What if uncovering the truth meant exposing his untouched vulnerabilities? The night still had secrets to unveil, and he was just getting started. The pulse of the city echoed in Keith's ears as he raced out of the cafe, adrenaline surging like a tidal wave crashing against a shore. He took a sharp left, darting through a crowd of late-night revelers. Their laughter and chatter contrasted sharply with his urgent need for answers. The figure that brushed by him felt more than just a fleeting touch, it was a riddle he had to solve. "Stop!" he shouted, voice breaking through the noise around him. He caught sight of them, a flash of dark hair and a denim jacket disappearing into the throng. Panic slammed against his chest. What if she knew something? What if she was the key to uncovering the truth behind the diary? His feet pounded against the pavement, each step magnetizing him closer to the shadow, carrying glimpses of a life he didn't yet understand. "Hey! Wait!" The word echoed, desperately clawing its way past his lips, but the figure didn't slow down. They slipped deeper into the crowd, a wisp of smoke weaving through the limbs of oblivious pedestrians. Keith pressed on, threading himself through the jumble of bodies. "Please, don't vanish." He wasn't just chasing a person, he was chasing hope, connection. That a sudden turn down a narrow alleyway, he dashed after them, the illumination from the street fading into a dim embrace. Here, the world felt different, it was quieter, darker. Fear prickled at his skin. But he couldn't turn back now. The raw need to know who she was pushed him forward. Finally, he stumbled upon her, breathing heavily, glamour slipping away as the intensity around him grew. She stood at the far end of the alley, back against the weathered brick wall. "Who are you?" she demanded, eyes wide, glistening with suspicion yet something undeniably vulnerable. I was just in the cafe," he stammered, suddenly hyper-aware of his disheveled appearance. Was he still the billionaire in a quest for answers, or just a man in desperation? "I saw you brush past me, I couldn't let you go." "What do you want from me?" she asked, voice trembling. The shadows cast by the nearby street lamp painted her face in swathes of light and darkness, reflecting the conflict brewing within. Keith's heart raced, and the words poured out before he could catch them. "I think you might know something about Jake." Please, I need to understand who he is to you. What he means. Her expression shifted, the tension in her features morphing into something softer, embers of confusion sparking in her eyes. Why do you even care? Because I care about you, he blurted out, and immediately regretted the weight of those words. The moment felt electric, charged with a vulnerability he hadn't anticipated revealing. There was a flicker of disbelief in her gaze, and it cut him deeper than he expected. Listen, just let it go, she whispered, glancing behind him as if fearing unseen ears. You have no idea it's complicated. Complicated. His mind swirled with possibilities and how her words felt like a locked door he desperately wanted to break down. He stepped closer, closing the distance, his determination solidifying. I can help you. Whatever it is, let me in. A heavy silence hung between them, the air thick with the potential of the unknown. He felt the weight of her struggle, the fear of exposing herself. But the connection, a spark igniting in the darkness, felt worth it. But then, a jarring noise shattered the moment, a sudden shout from the street, an angry voice cutting through the tension like glass shattering against the floor. Her eyes widened, filled with panic. We need to go. Instinctively, she grabbed his arm, urgency pulsating in her grip. They rushed further into the shadows, hearts pounding, as the hidden dangers of the night threatened to consume them both. What lay ahead? A confrontation that could expose secrets long buried? Or would it weave their fates together in ways he never anticipated? As they disappeared into the night, the danger grew palpable, leaving behind questions that loomed like specters. What had she been hiding? And what would it cost to uncover her truth? Adrenaline coursed through Keith's veins as they sped deeper into the alley. Each heartbeat sounded like a war drum, and he mentally cursed himself for diving headfirst into this mess. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a looming dread that clung to the cool night air. He stole glances at the woman, the girl beside him. There was something unshakable in her frantic expression, an urgency that felt almost contagious. Who was that? He asked, trying to keep pace with her hurried steps. What did we just escape from? A mistake, she replied, her breath coming out in jagged gasps. Just a mistake. Her tone barely scratched the surface of the fear etched in her eyes. They turned another corner, emerging into a dimly lit street that seemed oddly quiet, like the calm before a storm. The cacophony of the nightlife faded into nothingness, leaving an eerie silence looming around them. Keith's mind raced. Please, you have to tell me what is going on. If I'm going to help you, I need to know. No. She snapped, halting suddenly. The sudden change in her demeanor jolted him back. Look, I can't pull you into this. You don't know what you're asking for. Fear pulsed through him, a visceral response to her words. Is it dangerous? Are there people after you? The shadows danced over her features, shrouding her vulnerability in an enigmatic darkness. He strained to read her, the flicker of danger igniting a fire in his gut. Her gaze drifted, distant, searching for clarity in the chaos around them. It's not just me. There are layers to this mess. People involved who might get hurt. I can't let you be another casualty. But I can choose to be, he insisted, stepping closer. I'm not backing down. Not now. Frustration knotted her brows as a shadow flickered behind her, an ominous movement just enough to send his instincts into overdrive. We need to move. She urged, her voice tense. She grabbed his arm again, her grip firmer. What unfolded felt like a movie, a rapid montage of thoughts, feelings, and decisions. They dodged between parked cars and slipped into another alleyway, the clinking of bottles and murmur of clumps of people echoing faintly behind them. The city slipped into a blurred whirlwind of color and sound as they dashed in silence, their hearts thudding together in an unspoken alliance. Who are you? She finally queried, a momentary pause interrupting their escape. Why are you so hell-bent on unraveling my life? It's not just that, he admitted, his urge to protect her outweighing the fear he barely understood himself. You remind me of something I lost, of someone. Whatever it is you're up against. Before he could finish, a car screeched around the corner, headlights blazing like an angry sun. Panic jolted through him. "Get down!" he yelled, pushing her behind a dumpster as the vehicle screeched to a halt. Shadows poured out, moving with the precision of predators. "What do they want?" she whispered, her voice like a fragile whisper floating in the chaos. "Not sure, but we're about to find out," he said, his heart hammering with dread, yet a strange thrill coursed through him, a rush of wanting to protect her. They crouched in the darkness, breaths shallow, listening as footsteps approached, muffled voices merging into threatening mumbles. Keith's mind raced through his options, weighing the risks and the potential cost of coming to her aid. And then it hit him. "You're in trouble," he realized. "We need to get out of here now." In that heartbeat of fear, courage sparked within him. But the question lingered: was he ready to dive so deep into the unknown? As the voices grew closer, Keith found himself pulling her closer, their fate entwining as they both held their breath and waited for whatever came next. The weight of the moment coiled tight, darkness swirling around them, pressing in like a vice. Would this be the moment that defined them forever? Or have they already crossed the line from which there was no return? Keith's heart raced, a frantic drumbeat as shadows loomed closer, the danger palpable. He could hardly breathe, the air thickening around them, pressing in like an unwelcome shroud. He stole a glance at the girl beside him. Her eyes were wide, reflecting sheer terror and something else, an urgency that ignited a spark within him. "Stay quiet," he whispered, more to himself than her, as if the command could somehow ward off the encroaching threat. He listened intently, every rustle echoing in the silence, the adrenaline sharpening his senses. Footsteps approached, quick, purposeful. Each thud resonated with his pulse. It was a chase that was as inevitable as a train barreling down the tracks, and he felt them on the edge of a collision. "What do we do?" she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. He frowned, weighing their options. "If we can find a way out of here, maybe into a crowd or somewhere we can disappear." But the street remained dead, life a distant memory. Their silent refuge behind the dumpster felt increasingly precarious as the shadows converged. He could hear the men now, at least 3 of them. Their voices were low, conspiratorial, hanging on the edge of violence. "She's here." "I know it," one grunted, a sinister note of determination weaving through his words. Keith's blood ran cold. They were hunting her like prey. "Keep an eye out." "She can't have gone far," another voice replied, straining through grit teeth. Keith's instincts kicked in, urging him to act. If they found her, no, he couldn't let that happen. "Liam," she started, her voice trembling, that hint of vulnerability creeping back. His name felt heavy in the air, wrapping around him like a lasso. "No," he insisted, "you have to trust me. I want to let them take you." With quick, calculated movements, he peered around the edge of the dumpster, gauging the alley's exit. It was now or never. "Follow me," he whispered, and they bolted forward. Heart pounding, he pulled her behind another car, instinctively shielding her as they ducked low to the ground. The clicking of heels echoed behind them, sharp enough to slice through the shadows. Keith's breath hitched. One of the men had spotted them. "There. They're moving." The urgency in his tone sliced through the desperation. "Run!" Keith shouted, grasping her hand as they began to sprint. Adrenaline surged through their legs, the world blurring around them, the sound of tires screeching, voices shouting, and the scent of damp asphalt overwhelming their senses. They dashed down the lane, an escape fueled by raw instinct and the onslaught of panic. A flicker of headlights caught the corner of his eye, a taxi trudged the distance, its yellow glow offering a shred of hope. Keith yanked her toward it, desperation fueling his movements. "Taxi!" he yelled, waving his arms frantically. The driver glanced at them, confusion written on his face. "Now. We need to get in." He tucked her under his arm, the urgency of the chase binding them tighter together. The city flickered with neon lights, a stark contrast to the darkness trailing them. The taxi skidded to a stop, and they tumbled inside, breathless. "Go!" Anywhere but here. Keith urged the driver, his voice shaking with adrenaline. As the car jerked forward, he caught a glimpse of the alley in the rearview mirror. The men surged into the street, frustration etched across their features as they lost their quarry. But the moment of relief was short-lived. The girl leaned against the window, eyes wild, heart racing. They won't stop. They'll come after me again, she whispered, her breath hitching. Keith turned to her, determination hardening his resolve. I'll keep you safe, I swear it. With that promise hanging in the air, they both knew this was just the beginning. But what could he really do? How far would he go to protect her surrounded by shadows? A silence settled in the car, but the weight of the unknown pressed heavily on his shoulders. Who are you really? He finally asked, the question burning on his tongue. As her gaze met his, a flurry of emotions crossed her face: fear, then something darker, something that hinted at a storm yet to come. You have no idea what you're getting into. The car veered into the night, their paths intertwined. But as the city blurred past, Keith felt the creeping dread of a much larger game unfolding. What secrets lay behind her fear? And what price would they have to pay to uncover the truth? The taxi wound through the city, lights morphing into a manic haze. Keith glanced at the girl again, a spark of fear igniting his own. What do you mean? What are you hiding? He pressed, urgency lacing every word. She turned her gaze from the street, locking eyes with him. The tremor in her hand didn't escape him, but there was also a fierce resolve beneath those frightened depths. My name is not actually Lily, it's Jordan. I'm not just some random girl, there's so much more, she stammered, her breath hitching with a mixture of panic and resolve. Then tell me, Jordan. Keith urged, his mind racing. Who was he really protecting? Why are they after you? Her gaze dropped to her hands, twisting together like helpless vines. There's something I discovered, something they will kill to keep hidden. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper, haunted by memories. I thought I was safe, but I stumbled into their web, and now, it's all come crashing down. Every word felt like a weight pressing on his chest. He wanted to shield her from whatever storm loomed on the horizon, but the uncertainty twisted his insides into knots. What did you find? He pressed, urgency overwhelming him. She hesitated, then took a deep breath as if summoning fortitude from within. I worked at a PR firm. I uncovered communications about illegal dealings involving powerful executives, embezzlement, and money laundering. I took pictures and hid everything in my diary. They got suspicious when their secrets started to leak. What? You're saying you leaked this to the world? Keith's heart plummeted, understanding dawning on him. This wasn't just about a girl caught in the wrong place. This was bigger, dangerous. No. She cried, her voice rising. I only shared a few details with a friend. I didn't think they'd go so far. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes, and Keith felt a pang of empathy. Do you have that diary? He asked, hope inching into his voice. If she had evidence, that could shift everything. Yeah, but it's buried in my apartment. They'll find it before we even get there, Jordan whispered, despair lacing her voice. Keith's mind raced as they rounded a corner, and he spotted a police station ahead. What if we go to the cops? He suggested, glancing anxiously at her. This level of danger was beyond him, they needed the law. No. She exclaimed, gripped by panic. They might be involved. I can't trust anyone but you. And if they catch us, she couldn't finish, the fear choking her words. The taxi slid to a stop at a red light, and the driver looked at them through the rearview mirror, sensing the tension. Keith felt the weight of her fear pressing against him, every second feeling like a countdown to danger. You're the only one I can trust right now, she murmured. And if they have been watching me, if they know where I am. The light turned green, and the cab surged forward. We can't keep running, Keith said, taking a deep breath. If you've got this diary, we need to get it. We need a plan. Jordan's eyes flickered, possibility igniting for a brief moment. You really want to help me? He nodded, his heart pounding with unfiltered purpose. We'll find a way out of this together. We'll expose them. But just as hope began to spark, an ominous shadow loomed in the distance. The taxi barreled past a figure, a man in a black coat, standing on the sidewalk. Keith's gut churned. Something was chillingly familiar about that silhouette. The cab drove on, but panic gripped him. Who was that? He demanded, flipping around to look out the back window. Jordan's expression turned ashen. No, it can't be. A whisper of dread trembled through her voice. They darted down the street, but Keith could feel it, an invisible noose tightening. The weight of uncertainty hung between them. What if that figure was tied to her past? What if their attempts to seek the truth only attracted more danger? And then a thought pierced his mind. Wait, have they already found us? A sudden realization hit hard. They were on borrowed time, and the very ground beneath them felt like it might crumble away. As the night stretched on, with the boundaries between the hunter and the hunted blurred, Keith realized they were trapped in a sinister game with far higher stakes than either of them could fathom. What secrets had Jordan buried deep, and what would it cost them both to uncover the truth? The taxi veered sharply, tires screaming, as Keith's heart raced in tandem with the engine's roar. The man in the black coat was no coincidence, he could feel it in his gut. A predator tracking his prey, closing in. Jordan, he said, the urgency deepening in his voice. If he's following us, we won't have time. How far is your apartment? Just a few blocks over, but if he's already got the scent. Her voice trailed off, panic squeezing her throat. Determination surged within him. We'll take a different route, he resolved, scanning the streets, desperate for a plan. He could hear the echo of his own heartbeat thudding in his ears, drowning out everything else. Go left at the next intersection, Jordan instructed, her expression torn between fear and a flicker of hope. The taxi made a sharp turn. The streetlights blurred past like ghosts whispering warnings. Keith turned to the driver, we're in a hurry. Can you step on it? The driver glanced in the rearview mirror, eyes wide with confusion and concern, but he complied. The tension in the air was suffocating. Outside, a sudden flicker of headlights caught Keith's attention, and he craned his neck to peer through the back window. To his horror, he saw a dark sedan weaving in and out of traffic behind them. They're coming. He gasped, Jordan's eyes widened, brimming with terror and defeat. We need to bail. Now. She urged. Just a little longer. He pleaded, catching a glimpse of the bleak panic settling in her features. We'll get to your place. Just keep your head down. As they sped through the chaotic city streets, Keith's thoughts raced faster than the taxi. They had to reach the apartment and retrieve the diary. It was the only way to unearth the truth, to reveal those secrets that could change everything. Can we trust anyone to help us? He breathed, desperation creeping into his voice. No, she whispered, the weight of her reality crashing down. Everyone I knew was in on it. I only told you because you looked like a stranger who could actually care. His gut tightened. The thought of being her last hope chilled him. We'll figure this out. We can't let them win, he vowed, though uncertainty gnawed at him. Just then, the taxi hurtled around a corner and skidded to a stop in front of her apartment building. Get out! Keith barked, urging her to move. We're not safe yet. They leapt from the cab, sprinting for the entrance as Keith's heart hammered against his ribs. The shadows of the alley danced in the dim light, and fear licked at their heels. He cast a quick look back towards the road. The dark sedan cruised past slowly, the driver's expression hidden behind tinted windows. Let us hurry. Jordan urged, bolting through the glass doors. The lobby was dimly lit but familiar. Keith felt a flicker of comfort, but it was viciously short-lived. As they ascended the stairs, he could hear each creak under their weight, a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. Every sound echoed like an alarm bell. Which floor? He asked, breathless. Third, she gasped, fear-stricken eyes darting back toward the entrance, as if expecting the man in the black coat to appear at any moment. They reached her door, and Jordan fumbled with the keys, hands trembling. "Damn it, come on," she muttered, urgency coloring her voice. Behind them, a faint footstep in the lobby made Keith whirl around, adrenaline jolting through him. "We're not alone. Hurry." The door clicked open, and they swept inside, Jordan slamming it behind them and locking it with a desperate clang. Breathless silence enveloped them, but Keith could feel the violence of their fear bubbling beneath the surface. "There's a chance they'll come looking," he advised, scanning the small apartment filled with shadows. "We need to be quick." Without hesitation, Jordan rushed to her bedroom. Keith remained alert, scanning the space for any signs of danger. The walls felt like they were closing in, every sound outside felt 10 times louder, but it was within that silence that the weight of the moment settled. Would they truly find the answers they needed? Would the diary even still be there? Jordan returned, diary in hand. This is it." The small, worn book felt heavier than it looked. Keith watched her face, fragile and fierce, filled with both dread and hope. As she flipped it open, he could see her hands trembling, but just as she began to read, a loud thud rattled the door as a disembodied voice slithered through the cracks. "Jordan! Open up!" His heart sank. The predator had found them. "Who is it?" he demanded, his mind racing. Jordan's eyes were wide, filled with sheer terror. "It's him, the man from the street." Keith stepped closer, feeling the charged tension as if the air itself dared not breathe. She was clutching the diary like a lifeline, but they both knew that the moment was spiraling out of their control. What would happen next? And could they truly confront the darkness that threatened to engulf them? "I said, open the door." The voice was low, laced with menace and a chilling familiarity. Keith's breathing quickened as he exchanged a glance with Jordan. She looked as if the very walls were closing in on her. "Think. What do we do?" he whispered urgently, scanning the dim apartment for any means of escape. The journal lay open on the coffee table, its pages fluttering in a draft that felt unnatural in the stillness. "Maybe if we just ignore him," she suggested, though her voice was wavering. "Not a chance," he replied, adrenaline pushing him to the edge. "We can't risk him knowing we're here." Jordan's eyes were glued to the door, fear etched on her face like a mask. "He'll force his way in," she murmured, her hands shaking as she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The thud came again, heavier this time, accompanied by a brief pause before the voice resumed. "I know you're in there, Jordan. You can't hide forever. Is there a back exit?" Keith asked, willing his voice to stay steady. "There's a fire escape through the kitchen," she replied, biting her lip. But if he's watching, the implication hung heavily between them. They'd both become prey in this twisted game. Without thinking twice, Keith grabbed her wrist. "We need to move. Now." Jordan led the way, pulse racing as they slipped into the kitchen. The light was dim, with only a faint glow filtering from the street below. She reached the window and fumbled with the latch. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and every second felt like an eternity. Just as the window creaked open, the heavy thud returned, louder and more insistent. "Open up, Jordan. This is your only chance to talk. You know what I'm capable of." She shot a terrified look at Keith. "He'll break it down. Go." Keith hissed, giving her a gentle push. She hoisted herself out through the window, and he followed, heart racing as they landed on a narrow fire escape. They paused for a frantic moment, glancing back, fearing the door would fly open at any second. Keith pulled his phone from his pocket, quickly turning it on. It had barely enough battery left. "Let us go," he said quietly, leading her down the creaky metal stairs. Below, the alley stretched into the shadows, too quiet, too uncertain. They reached the ground and darted into the maze of old building entryways, hoping that the dimly lit streets would swallow them whole. Each glance over their shoulders only heightened the anxiety rising in him. "Keith, we can't just run indefinitely. I have a friend who might help, Jordan breathed, urgency in her voice. But we need to lose him first. Where? 2 blocks over, there's a bar. My friend works there. A crash echoed behind them, shattering the tense calm. The door they had escaped from was smashed open, the silhouette of the man in the black coat now visible against the yellow glow of the building's lights. Jordan! He yelled, a chilling calm in his tone. You can't run forever. Just give in. Fear gripped Keith like ice. The man wasn't just skilled, he was relentless. Run! Keith shouted, pushing her forward as they darted through the alleyways, searching for a shadow to cloak them. They dodged bins, squeezed between walls, hearts hammering against their ribs. Suddenly, they reached a street. Where? Keith asked desperately. There. Jordan pointed to a neon-lit sign flickering in the distance. The bar. Racing toward it, they could hear footsteps behind them, growing louder, threatening. Keith glanced back, catching a glimpse of the man, his dark coat billowing around him like storm clouds. As they burst through the bar's door, the pounding music enveloped them, muffling the outside world. They scanned the chaotic scene, people laughing, dancing, oblivious to the danger that lurked outside. Where's your friend? Keith asked, breathing heavily. Over there, at the bar, Jordan replied, her eyes darting around for any signs of safety. I just hope he's working tonight. Before they could move, the whisper of the night lingered just outside, and a familiar face emerged through the bar's entrance. A chill ran down Keith's spine as he recognized the man from the street, his dark silhouette now framed by the neon chaos. Stay close, Keith muttered, locking his eyes on the man. Would they be able to slip away again, or was it too late? What if their last chance for safety was being snatched away before they even reached it? The bar pulsed with life, but for Keith and Jordan, the reality was stark and terrifying. The music thudded like a heartbeat, drowning out the tension that coiled within them. The warmth of the crowd seemed alien under the chill of fear that gripped them. Keep your head down, Keith instructed, peering through the crowd. He couldn't shake the feeling that the man would burst in any moment. The bar was a ticking clock, each second a reminder of their precarious situation. Jordan shifted uneasily beside him. What if he sees us? Her voice trembled, barely audible over the clinking glasses and laughter. He's focused on finding you. Just act normal like we're here for a drink, Keith replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. He scanned the room, hoping to spot her friend, but the eager faces blurred together. Then he spotted him. Across the room, a rugged man with a bushy beard leaned against the bar, arms folded, casually eyeing the scene. Jordan's eyes widened in recognition. Is that him? She asked, gripping Keith's arm tightly, her nails digging into his skin. Yeah, but we need to get past the crowd first, he replied, starting toward the bar. Their path was blocked by a group of loud patrons that spilled laughter everywhere. Keith felt a surge of panic rise as they navigated the sea of bodies. Suddenly, the bar's door swung open with a creak, and every head turned to watch the newcomer. Keith's heart sank. He recognized that silhouette through the shifting crowd. The man in the coat stepped in, scanning the room with a predator's intensity. Keith's grip on Jordan tightened. We need to move. Now. They slipped behind a server station, hearts pounding in sync with the beat of the music. Keith held his breath, peering out at the man now approaching the bar. Get his attention, Keith whispered to Jordan. We need a distraction. With a nod, she stepped out into the open, forcing a smile as she made her way toward the bar. Keith watched, chest tight. She approached the bartender, clearly trying to signal for her friend. Keith's heart raced as he tracked the man's movements. The predator held a drink now, talking to the bartender while casually surveying the bar as if trying to spot prey. Come on, Keith murmured, willing Jordan to hurry. At that moment, the bartender nodded and seemed to point toward Keith. He felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. Jordan hurried back toward him just as the man turned. Their eyes locked, and Keith saw the predatory glint in the stranger's gaze. "Keith! Over here!" Jordan shouted, a desperate urgency in her voice. "Jordan, no!" Panicked, Keith pushed through the throng, reaching for her. The tension snapped, the man bolted toward them, a storm of fury unleashed. They dove toward the bar, weaving through the maze of bodies, Keith glancing back just in time to see the man gain ground. "Get to your friend!" Keith yelled, shoving Jordan forward. "Just go!" She screamed, fear flooding her features. In a split-second decision, he turned, blocking the man's path, hoping to buy Jordan the seconds she needed to reach safety. The man stopped, his smirk unsettling. "Coward," he snarled, making Keith's heart pound like a drum. "Get away from her!" Keith shot back, adrenaline roaring in his veins. A sudden tremor surged through him, fear, yes, but also a fierce determination. "Jordan, run!" He shouted, but the moment stretched, everything slowed as the man launched forward. Keith braced himself, muscles coiling as if to spring at the threat, ready to protect. The bar had become a battlefield, and now it all hinged on a choice, a singular moment where their lives could fracture or bind in this chaos. Would he risk it all to keep her safe, or would it all come crashing down before their eyes? In that split second, as adrenaline surged through Keith, time almost unraveled. The man lunged toward him, eyes cold and steely, but Keith's instinct kicked in. He had to shield Jordan, to protect her at all costs. As the man reached for him, Keith ducked, the scent of danger hanging in the air like smoke. The hit was jarring, knocking the wind from his lungs, but Keith rolled away, scrambling to his feet. In a matter of moments, the struggle erupted, fists flying, the crowd around them becoming a blur of chaos. He felt powerful yet vulnerable, wielding sheer desperation as he countered the man's attacks. Keith could hear muffled gasps and shouts, the bar transformed into an arena. "Get out!" He yelled to Jordan, spotting her just beyond the fray, eyes wide with fear. But she wouldn't leave. Her presence held him steady as he fought a silent pact binding their fates together. The man was relentless, sweat glistening on Keith's forehead as he struggled against overwhelming force. The sounds of breaking glass and wild laughter became distant noise, engulfed by the pulse of their immediate danger. "You're nothing but a fool." The man spat, dragging him further into chaos. Keith's mind spun. Where was Jordan? Then, through the corner of his eye, he saw her again. Determination etched across her features, she was making her way toward the bar, pushing through the crowd with purpose. She was reaching for her friend, the burly bartender, his eyes affixed to the unfolding chaos. "Mike! Help!" she called. In that moment, a heavy fist connected with Keith's jaw, pain exploding through him. He staggered back, seeing flashes of lights as stars danced around his vision. But he couldn't lose sight of her. "Get her out!" Keith shouted, teeth gritted, battling every instinct that screamed to flee. His view swayed, but he pushed through the pain, shoving back against the violent tide of the man before him. A surge of grit coursed through him, he fought for something more than just himself. A fleeting thought of success, a plan taking shape, was their only hope. The bartender roared into action. "Get away from him!" Mike shouted, pushing through the panicking crowd. The bartender's massive frame barreled into the fray, fists clenched. The man in the coat faltered for just a moment, caught between two foes, and Keith seized the opportunity, launching himself forward. A desperate swing found its mark, and the man stumbled back into the crowd, confusion vibrating through the air as people shifted, trying to make sense of the chaos. "Jordan!" Keith called, his voice strained but fierce. She was there, and the two locked eyes, a fleeting moment infused with fierce emotion. Relief, fear, hope, they surged like a tidal wave, pulling them back into the fight. Mike was holding his ground, but the man was regaining control, fueled by anger and vengeance, slipping back towards them. "Now!" Keith yelled. "Let us go!" Jordan's hand fit into his like a missing puzzle piece. The energy between them was electric, stitched together by danger. They bolted toward the side entrance, hearts pounding in sync, and the man followed, determined not to let them escape. Outside, the cool night air hit them like a burst of fresh hope, but they didn't stop. They ran. The neon glow of the bar dimmed behind them, yet the shadows pulled closer, determined to reclaim what they had lost. "We need a car," Jordan gasped, breathless. But they couldn't risk being caught in the open. Keith's mind raced, searching for a way to hide. "This way," he urged as they slipped into another alley, weaving through darkness amidst the towering buildings. "Keith, he's not going to stop. We have to tell the police." He shook his head fiercely. "We don't know who's involved. We need to keep moving until we figure out our next step." Sudden footsteps echoed behind them. Panic surged anew as they dashed down another turn, hearts in their throats. "They're getting closer," Jordan cried, her breath hitching, but then, a light flickered in the distance, a parking lot visible through the shadows. Keith led them closer, desperate for safety. As they rounded the corner, a sprawling expanse of cars greeted them amid the darkness. "There." He pointed to a weathered silver sedan parked at the edge, its owner absent and doors unlocked. They vaulted toward it, adrenaline propelling them. Jordan slid into the passenger seat while Keith jumped into the driver's side and started the car. "Go, go, go," Jordan urged, as if her voice could propel the vehicle faster. The engine growled before roaring to life. They sped out of the parking lot, and as the rearview mirror revealed the opening alley, the haunting figure of the man loomed at its entrance, frustration bursting from him like a show of fireworks. But they were already gone, threading through the maze of streets, leaving their fears behind in a haze of tires screeching. "Now what?" Jordan asked, glancing at him, her expression an intricate tapestry of concern intertwined with relief. "We get to safety," Keith replied, steeling himself. "And then we expose everything. We can't let them silence you, or ruin anyone else's life." Jordan took a breath, looking at him with gratitude burning in her gaze. "You're willing to fight for me?" He nodded, heart swelling. "I want to let you face this alone. Together, we'll find the truth. We'll bring them down." Slowly, hope blossomed in the dark corners of defeat. The night air whipped around them as they raced forward, the horizon ahead shimmering with potential. This was just the beginning. They would untangle the web of darkness surrounding them, exposing secrets and revealing all truths, no matter the cost. As they drove into the night, strength surged between them, a bond forged in danger and sealed with a promise. Keith didn't know where this journey would lead, but man and woman together, they'd challenge the unknown, face whatever hideous truths awaited them, and finally, find the light. Now was the moment to act. Now was the call for courage. You need to subscribe now for more unbelievable stories like this. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything. It's time to be part of the journey.